This presentation is a walk through a generic and comprehensive net impact analysis flowchart that summarizes the most important components of any net impact evaluation, identifies possible deliverables and their sequencing, and identifies the most important kinds of data that need to be gathered and their sequencing. We'll also discuss how each deliverable in the sequence constrains subsequent deliverables and makes the cumulative net impact analysis more credible than it would be otherwise. Looking at the top of the flowchart, we see that there is an analysis plan that specifies the policy issues, the research questions, the applicable theory of behavior, measurable outcomes, and theories of change for the impact analysis. Without a written analysis plan, it's possible for subsequent deliverables not to match what was originally intended. You see that the first decision diamond is whether or not subjects are research eligible. One of the most important objectives of impact analysis is minimizing disruption of usual procedures for an agency or organization. And if you have, say, hundreds of thousands of people going through your program, you might need only a fraction of them for impact analysis, and therefore you should set up a procedure where most of your activity won't be disrupted. On the no arm of that diamond, you see that a non-research group could become part of the usual client flow, while people eligible for the research would complete informed consent documents and enrollment forms. Notice that there's a drop-off that will take place at this stage. Sometimes this drop-off is intentional. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. What's important to note here is that you really can't evaluate a random sample of an entire population because there are many things that could go wrong with an impact analysis that tried to do that. After the enrollment form is completed, you'll have a baseline data set that will constrain the total sample that you have available for subsequent analyses. You'll never have more subjects than you had at baseline. Often you'll have substantially fewer by the time you get done gathering follow-up data. The next diamond that you see is for research status. My colleague Shane Thompson has posted a blog that talks about the ways that you might establish research status. One way would be random assignment. Another way would be using some kind of running variable for an RDD. After you've established research status, you can publish a baseline report that hopefully will show that there was no difference in characteristics relevant to the outcomes between your treatment group and your comparison group. That's the most important part of a research design, to put aside other factors besides the treatment that the treatment group gets and the control group does not get in determining what the outcomes will be. once you've established these groups, these research groups, you'll have lists of program services that will be offered to members of those groups. And you'll want those lists to be as different as possible, otherwise you won't really have anything to compare. You'll notice that similar services often are available from other sources besides the particular program being evaluated. That also is something that could undermine your research design. If you're offering something that people can get elsewhere, even if they become part of your control group, then you're not going to have any impacts to measure. When we look at the take-up box below the treatment group, we're looking at whether or not people take up the offer that they're given to have a comparison of people who go through a program to people who don't go through a program that's valid. Your take-up rate will have to be pretty high. You'll want a take-up rate of 80 or 90% rather than 5 or 10%, or else, again, your research design will be undermined. Drop-off here is often intentional. You can manipulate the drop-off rate by requiring people to return to your program intake with various kinds of documentation that might or might not be absolutely necessary. Gary Bertlis of the Brookings Institution often talks about Cheston's chestnut. John Cheston was an intake officer at an income maintenance site in Ohio during the 70s when that evaluation was going on. And he said that every time you ask someone to come back another time, you'll lose a third of them. And then those who do come back will be more likely to take advantage of your offer. Let's go on to the in-program period section of the diagram. There will be a period of time during which the control group might do better than your program group. Think of a job training program that keeps people in training in classrooms for 6 months. During that 6 months, the control group will have a chance to go out and get jobs that the program group won't. There'll be an opportunity cost, and you wouldn't expect positive impacts during that period. There'll have to be a catch-up period later if the program is to be successful. Once you've gotten data on what the program group does during the in-program period and the control group does during that same period, you can write a process analysis report. That report is the place where you might eliminate some sites from the impact analysis that did not actually deliver what they were supposed to deliver to the treatment group. A certain amount of process analysis is essential in any impact analysis, if only to identify the in-program period. Generally, we might say that the in-program period ends when 80% of the program group are finished with their association with the program. Then starts the post-program period, during which we'll want to measure post-program outcomes. Sometimes the post-program outcomes come from surveys. Those are more expensive than the administrative data that my colleague Channel Lane talked about. in any case, you will have to try to get as many of the baseline sample members as possible to provide usable impact data. Given your design, the impact analysis might be as simple as a comparison of the average outcome in each group. Then you will be set up for possible cost-benefit analysis. One problem in cost-benefit analysis is that the costs usually are fully observed by the time you're writing the report, whereas the benefits may take many years to appear. Finally, the agency that funded the net impact analysis is ready to make policy decisions based on the findings. They could decide that the program is ready to be widened in scope to accommodate many more people. They could decide that the program was an abject failure and should be terminated immediately, or most probably they could decide that the program should be tweaked in a certain way, and perhaps more analysis should be done before policy decisions are made. So that's my flowchart diagram for a generic impact analysis.